Yes, we're live. So this evening, I just want to go through HTML for absolute beginner, and why I'm doing this is because Freecodecamp actually just launched this amazing platform. So it's still in beta version. You can see Learn 2022. So on their responsive web design course, so HTML, so they just build a new interface and everything, which I think is really amazing. So I want to do a kind of a code along, so to in HTML, and so you could just like follow along, and then this just like help you to be able to like understand some of this syntax. I'm going to be explaining as I'm coding and solving all of the problems. So the aim of this is to like finish everything from A to Z. It's a lot. So if you go to freecodecamp.org, let me just show you how I got here. So if you go to Freecodecamp, so the last page here, you see responsive web design beta certification, so 300 hours. So it has amazing stuff, and we're going to do the HTML right now. It's about 67 section, and I'm going to run from 1 to 67 in this live recording. So we're going to have a lot of conversation in but I want to make it like in 1 hour. I don't know how I could do that, but I will try to make it in 1 hour. And we are going to be doing this card photo app. It's so amazing, it's not yummy. So this is what we're going to be building in, let's say, in 1 hour or so. And yeah, let's start coding. So the first thing we want to do, what is HTML? So basically, when you're learning how to code the web, HTML is the first language of the web. It's actually the language of the web, actually. That's how we define everything that the browser showed to us, how we structure content for the website. So we have our HTML tag, and then we have the body tag. So in the body tag, that is why everything you see on the page shows up. And then we have all these HTML elements that we can describe our information, so our data. So now what we have here is the H1 element. So right now we have hello world here, but I can change it now to say card photo app. And then if I check my code, this works fine, and then I can submit and go to the next one. So now you can see we have card photo app here. So H1 run from H1 to H6. So H1 is the highest, and then H6 is the smallest of them all. So now we're going to add an H2 to our page, H2, and then we say card photos. We close. So and then you understand that we actually have like H1 element have open tag and then closing tag. So the same thing for H2. I did this wrong. Okay, H2. So card photos is the open and then the close tag. So some element doesn't have both close and open tag. So we're going to encounter some of them in the future. And then another thing we could do is we can create paragraph. So paragraph is just the way it sounds, where you can add a bunch of text into your photo. So we can, I will just copy this text actually to make it faster, so I don't just type rubbish. And then so, all right, so we have this. So that's the paragraph text. So we can have multiple paragraph text in our code, and that's pretty good. So in step 4, we talked about commenting. How do you add comments to your code in HTML? So comment is actually the way you put information into your code, like you put information that for other developers or notes for yourself. So that is what comments do. So we can add a comment like this. So above the p tag, so we just want to put a note for ourselves. That is what the comment is actually. Putting a note for yourself or for other developers. So we said to do add link to card photos, something that, okay, this is what I want to do. So a comment can be maybe something you want to do, or to explain a particular HTML tag or a section, or to just give you a pointer to remember something. And then what you notice is the comment doesn't show up on the browser because it's just a note to yourself. So, and then, you know, aside from this, we have this HTML5. I've talked about HTML5 in different of my videos. I think one advantage of HTML5 is that it gave us this what we call semantic HTML elements, or we can call them they help us with accessibility and search engine optimization, and also they make our HTML even more readable and more understandable. So for instance, this main, for instance, the main, identify the main section of this page by adding a main. So now, we have a main section, so we have a tag, and then we can create this main. So that is going to wrap. Okay, this makes sense. So now we have main that wrap both card photos and the paragraph. So if you click on main, I've told you before, you get a reference to any HTML tag. So you can click on H2 and you get a reference to what it means. So anytime you click on any HTML, any IDE will give you only most of this info. Even in Visual Studio Code, I think they have this information there now, which is really, really good. So I think I'm going to make this a full screen so that we could just like have okay, and then I can submit this. Let's see if this work. These work good. So now we have a main section that wrap up our main content area. So to make HTML easier to read, indent the H2 elements, the comments and P elements exactly 2 spaces. So you can see I did that before when I was coding. So like you can just use like a tab to do this, to just indent them. So indentation just give your code in some kind of like hierarchy, because H2 and P tag are actually like children of main anyway. So then we can have that visual hierarchy in our code. So now another cool thing you want to do is add image into your code. So into your and what you notice, image is self-closing tag. Paragraph have open and close tags, but image doesn't. Image is self-closing tag. So at this point, when you put this image tag, nothing shows up. So if I click on this here, this works, but we don't have anything. So to make our image shows up, we need to put what we call an attribute. And one of the attributes of image is the source, right? So we can pick the source here and then put this in there. Oh, cutie. You can see how cute that is. And then our image tag is working fine. So another thing you want to do, another attribute that image takes is actually alt text. So the alt text is actually good for accessibility sake, and also for some time it's to just fail proof your image. Maybe your image doesn't load and then you still want to communicate to a user what is happening there. So if I do something like this, you can see a cute orange cat lying on its back. So that's a very good experience for users. So, and then also for people that are using screen readers, the screen reader can actually read the alt text, and then the user can know exactly what is going on in the image. So another fancy thing you want to do with HTML or on the web page is to be able to like add a link. You want to click something so that users can go from one place to another. So the way to do that is using anchor tag. So what we are going to do here, so we add an anchor element after the paragraph that links to this. So we could just going to like add this. So I'll just do this. So you see it's opening tag there. So okay, so then we want to link it to here. So we could say href, good, href attribute. Okay, that works. So we put an href attribute, but then we didn't put any text there. But in the next one, let's see what they want us to do. So we want to add a text to it called cart photos. Okay, and then that works. So when we click on this should go somewhere now. Cart photos. How cute is that? Cats are really cute, really cute. So good. Again, so let's keep going. So one thing we could do, so we could actually link things. So this cat photos here, you can see it's actually inside the paragraph, but you can link anything. You've been on Wikipedia, for instance, and you are reading the text and you see an hyperlink where you can click on it to read more about that thing. So the same way we can do it for this information here. So we just have a tag, and then we have the closing a tag, and then we have the href attribute that goes over there. So then we can click on cart photos now, and it can go somewhere. Okay, so we don't need this anymore, so we can take that off, and then that works fine. Fantastic. So let's keep going. Step 13. So now add the target attribute with the value blank. So now what in the new tab. So yeah, so now we can say target attribute, yeah, then blank. So what that does is that, so that when you click on the link, it can open in the new tab or a new page entirely. So let's keep going. So now turn the image into a link by surrounding it with necessary elements. So image also can become clickable. So, and we can do that by just like wrapping the image with an anchor tag also, just the way we wrap the text, and then href attribute, and then to where we want it to go. And then when we click on the image, then we see that the image is now clickable. So when I click on this image, you can see it's going somewhere now. How awesome is that? Now we have what we call section. So we have main. Section is just the way to group logical content together. So that's what content section actually does. So it helps us to like take logical content and then wrap them together. So we can take all the elements currently included within the main element and nest them in the section element. So within the main, we can create section, and then we can wrap it into section. So we can now add a new section probably. So it's time for a new section. Add a section element below the existing section element. So now we could have a new section of similar content, you know. So, and one thing you notice that every HTML element are actually in lowercase. So don't use capital letters in HTML elements. They are all lowercase. So within this second section, let's add another h2 and close h2. So, and this one should be cart list. So that's it. And then under a h2 elements, add an h3 element with the text of this. So we need to add this also. So we're building something, h3, and then we close h3 tag, and then you can see that, and then we can move forward. That is so cool. Our page is coming up nicely, you see. So, and you can see that basically HTML building a website is like repeating ourselves using the same concept and then building up on top of that. So what we're going to do now is create a list, and there are two ways to create a list in HTML. You can create what called a UL, which is an unordered list, and then in it we can actually put the list themselves, li. So the list information is li. So the parent is type of list, and then the element of the list is the children of the list, the li. That is the list itself. So in the list, we're just going to put all this information. Cat name. Okay, another li. Close li. These. Oh, cat love this to lasagna. Okay. All right, so you see we have our list, and you can go on and on like that, and you can create all of those lists. I think you've seen lists before on the web, and that's how you do them. So another thing we want to do is to have, after the unordered list that we just created, add a new image. So we want to create a new image. You know the way we do that now. So it's image, closing tag, and sometimes you can just use image. I think it works. So, and then you have this URL. Okay, I will just copy this URL. And yeah, we have this. How delicious is that? And then we can put the alt text. Never forget. Alt. Yeah. And then we can go. It works fine, and our app is coming up really good. This is really amazing. We've learned a lot. We are almost halfway through. Let's go. So now there is an element called figure, which is used to like add caption to images, which is really amazing. So we are going to nest our image into this figure element, and then close figure here. I think so. So close figure. That works fine. So we have our figure element here, and what figure helps us do is help to add caption to image. So what we can do is at the top here. So, or I think after the image here, we can add the figure caption actually. Fig caption element. So a cute cat. So yeah. Yeah, so but for our purpose, this is what we're doing. Not a cute cat. We know the cat is cute already, but we're talking about the food right now. So fig caption. And you can see the caption already below the image. How expressive is that? Really, really expressive. You already know this is an image, and then this is the image caption, and it's nicely placed, even without CSS. It works fine. That's really cool. So now emphasize the word love in the fig caption. How do we do emphasis? So we use this element called em. So we just say em, and then close em, and then you can see the emphasis. Love is emphasized. That's cool. Keep going. So now what we need to do, after the figure element, add another h3 element with the text top 3 things cat 8. So we want to go here, and then we add an h3 element, and then say okay, cat 8 these things. They don't like it. What are they? Let's find out. So h3 Good. So, and under this, the second kind of way that you can write lists in HTML on the web, we have this on the ordered list we did here. So using this code here. So now we have what we call ordered list. So when you want to list things, so in their order, because this time the numbers and the order they come matters. Hierarchy. Okay, oh well. And then we want to have list items of 1, and then we close this. You know how we do this now. At this point, you're an expert in HTML actually. So then we have this thunder, and then we have other cards. Oh yeah, cats don't like other cats. Interesting. Is this scientifically proven? I'm not sure. Okay, so you can see this is like 1, 2, 3. So we don't even have any JavaScript or anything. This just work. HTML is amazing. So you can see that we can test our code and everything is working as expected. We have a app already. How cool is that? So now we want to add another figure element. After this, you know how we do it. So now the idea is anytime we want to have an image, we need to have a figure element, but not all the time. But then if we have our image inside the figure, we already know that, okay, yeah, there's something coming in here with an image. And then the image has a source, and then the source is coming from where? What? Oh, you're so cuties. How cool is this? And then we want to have an alt image of this alt. How cool is that? And before you know it, in step we've built an amazing cat photo app in HTML. How amazing is that? You've learned tons of things from here. Can we quickly recap at this midway before we continue? Wow, this is faster than I thought. We just barely passed 23 minutes. That's good. So we built all of this using HTML. So what have we done? We have this body, we have the HTML tag, we have the body. Every content that we see here shows up in the body of our HTML. And then we have our main. We have the H1. We have the main add wrap all the main content of our app, and then we have section hold each section of our app. This first section. So in this section we have the upper part where we have the cat photos, this paragraph here, and the image. And the second section we have the cat list, this and this. And then in the section we have the figure, we have the images, we have the OL for other list, and then we have the UL from on the other list. How amazing is that? So let's keep going. So now after the last image element, we want to have the feed caption just like we did before, remember? So now here we're going to have feed caption. We just make figures caption, right? So it's really expressive. That's the amazing thing about it. When you see the tag or the element, you understand what it's meant to do. And then we have cat, 8 other cats, but they're so cute together. Okay, so in the feed caption you just had it indicates that 8 is of strong importance by wrapping it in the strong elements. Remember, in the love we use emphasis, but then in 8 we are using strong. So there are two ways to actually like emphasize things. So we can use strong or 8. So use strong. How does that come out? It's like bold, and then this is like, yeah, emphasize in a different way. So it's italicized. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so you can see all of our code like this. So it's time to add new it's time to add a new section element below the second section element. So we have this first section element. This is the first section element. This is the second section element, and then we're going to create. This is the second section element. So we're going to add a new section now. So section just give us like logical reasoning over our code, how it works. We over it, you see, this is wrong. So we over this. The section element represents a generic section of a document or application. A section in this context is a thematic grouping of content. So that's what a section is. It helps us group similar logical content together. So good. In this section, we should have an h2. So that adds card form. Okay, close h2. So now it's another important thing that you do in HTML and web is collecting data. Very, very important. So, and then adding forms is the way we collect data. Forms are the way we collect data. Very crucial, very important in web development to understand how forms works. So majorly every web application is going to have form of some sort. So in the form takes attributes that is called actions. So and this action go to a particular URL. So we can say action and then to this particular URL. So the action is actually where the data is being submitted. So when we submit it, so that is what the action does. So now, how do we actually get data into our form? Is by using input. So there are different kinds of input elements, and then input element is actually self-closing. So that's how they work. They are self-closing. So and then you can see we have a form already. How cool is that? This is a text input, so we can type anything inside. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, there are different kinds of inputs anyway. So, and this input can take different kind of attributes. Let's look at some of the attributes that it takes. So one of them is called type. And then this, for this particular one, is called test. So now we know that this is a test input. And then, so we can add name to this input. So like, because we are getting a URL from this input, so that's the name it's gonna be. So another one is we could actually add a placeholder. So you see what placeholder does. You could have seen this in a lot of websites, and it's just easy to implement in HTML. HTML do a lot of things for us. We should appreciate. We should be grateful for HTML. See, cat photo URL. So immediately you see this input, you know that, oh, this is a suggestion of what this input should get. A cat photo URL, which is cool. So right now we can submit this. We can actually leave this form input empty, which is not what we want. So there is a way you can actually add some kind of integrity to your form. And how you do that is by making it impossible for people to submit it without putting the correct information. So we want this form or this input to have a content no matter what. So we can make it like required. So when we do required, it means that you have to fill something here before you can move forward. So if we do this work, you see as we go forward. So something that we can do is add a button element with the text submit below the input. So how do we add button? Buttons are amazing. We need button, right, to click. So, and it's so easy to do in HTML. Button, and then submit, and then button close, and then you see we have, how cool is this? We have a card form, we have photo URL, and then we have a submit button. So now if I click on submit, you can see please fill in this field. So because our submit is inside the form, so immediately it knows that you need to take the action in this, so that is what it's going to be doing. So it will just work because the button is a submit, and then you just need to take the action there. So but there's another thing we need to do in our submit to make it more specific, because we can have multiple buttons in our form, so we don't want to like confuse them up anyway. So we can add a type to tell our button that you are a submit button, you should go ahead and submit stuff. So because we could have different kind of button in that, so which is really good. So now our submit button is really like tied up, and then it's working fine. So now at some point we want different kind of input also. So and then in this place there's different, we will see another kind of input we could have, and then we could add a type here, radio input. Can you see that? So this is a radio input. You can click it. So radio input allow you to select one thing. So yeah, so which is that, and then good. And then we can do this. Oh, do I have them in wrong order? Okay, your new input element should be above the existing element. Okay, so we have this at the top. So I put it in the wrong order. Okay. So then we need to put the tests, this indo. So this is what we call test-driven development. So because you're trying to test what you're doing, and then see figuring it out. Okay, so okay, I should have a test in front of it. I think that was what I was doing. Indo, okay. Directly to the right. Isn't it right? Oh, okay, this works now. So because it's specific actually how you need to do it, and this is how we learn actually as you're doing stuff. So follow the instruction, and there's this what we call test-driven development is actually cool. So you write your test and then you try to write the code, and that is what is happening right now, because we have a test of how things should be, and then we write the code to fulfill it. So now what we want to do next year, we have to create a label. So creating label is actually cool. So to be able to like, because right now we don't even know what this radio button is doing. We know it's indoor, but then we could actually like make it better. So, and this information is just lying here, which is not really cool. That's why I was like, okay, what is happening? So that should be a label that we create, that we wrap all of this in. So, and then we can click this, so we know that, so we have a label, we have this input and stuff. So now we have this attribute called ID, so to the radio button. So we can add an ID attribute to actually identify this radio button. So, and one thing about ID is that you can only have one type of an ID name in the document. So as you create an ID indoor, you can't have any ID name indoor on this HTML page anymore. So, which is pretty cool. So when we do this, this works fine. So the next thing we want to do is next another radio button with the option outdoor in the new label element. So the new radio button should be placed after the first one. Also set its ID to outdoor. Now what is happening here is this, you know, radio buttons, actually you can pick like one out of several options. So that is the idea of the radio button. So we say this should be outdoor, and then type of this input should be radio. So, and then outdoor, close label. So now we have two radio buttons. So, but now you see there is no connection between them. So we get to that shortly, and you see where the stuff comes. So now what we need to do is to connect these radio buttons in a way so that we can know that these things should be, we can only pick one of those. So you can only be indoor or outdoor. You can be both at the same time, except you're Superman or fast. So yeah, or you can, so yeah, that's what we're going to do. So then we are going to have name here, name attribute, and then here also name attribute. So this now gives us the ability to just select one of that because they are of the same name. So we now have a connection that, okay, these radio buttons are the same and you can only pick one of them. So now when you submit your form, you want to be able to get the data out of the form. And the only way you can actually get the data out of your form is to be able to know what value it is. So what is the value of the indoor? What is the value we need to get from the indoor when we submit? So when the user submits this, we want them to know that, okay, it's indoor. And then the value for the outdoor is when the user submits or pick outdoor, we want the value to be outdoor. So whatever is in this value is what gets sent to the database. So you can see it. So, and that's how it is. Good. So another thing we have that is really cool, so is what we call field set. So field set elements is used to group related inputs and labels together in a web form. So we could nest all of these in the field set. So field set, because they are like the same thing, right? So we want them to be logically grouped together. And most thing you'll be seeing in HTML is actually hierarchy all of the time. Field set, I spelled this wrongly. So that's why I'm not getting the result I was hoping for. So you can see now we have this field set. So it's wrapping around the content like, oh guys, this is the same thing. So which is really, really cool. So another thing we have the field set already. So the legend element acts as a caption for the content in the field set. So add the legend element with the text of this. So good. So we can add this. Okay, so now let's get this. So let's add the legend element with the test this. So how do we add legend elements to this? So let's try. So we have legend. So let's close legend. How cool is that? So we have our legend. So and it works as I guess. Okay, so that's the legend. So the legend field just give us like, okay, wrap this element and in this put this nice caption around there, and we have is your cat an indoor or outdoor cat? Yes, outdoor cat, and then we have that. How cool is that? So now moving forward, next you're going to add some new form input elements. So add another field set element directly below the current field set. So we have this field set. So we're going to add a new field set. So I told you before in HTML you repeat yourself a lot. So and if you know a handful of them, like you're good to go. You don't need to cram any of these elements. So don't cram them. So there are a lot of reference. The MDN reference is there. Sometimes it's just like a Google away. So I saw an amazing quote yesterday. I think it's Albert Einstein that says it. Like, what you can reference, don't look it up. Don't cram it. Like, don't cram what you could actually. Oh, sorry, because I did not close this. That's why. So I did not close that. So it is mad at me because like you didn't close it. So and then we need to add a legend here that said, how do we do legend? And then close legend. So now you can see what's your cat personality. So now we have two forms elements. So now what we want to create is what we call a checkbox. So what does checkbox allow us to do? So checkbox is just like the opposite of what radio button is. Radio button allows us to choose one thing from multiple elements, and then checkbox allows us to like pick several things, and that's the idea of a checkbox. So we can see we have a checkbox, so we can pick a lot of things. So and then we can give this one loving, so which is good. So we can add an ID. Remember, we have an ID attribute of loving. And the same way we can also add a label to this. So we have label. So we wrap our inputs in the label, remember? The way we did for the radio button. So we have inputs there, and then we can close that. It should be wrapped in a label. I think that's exactly what we did. Label. Oh. Label, there's a space between them. So input ID loving type checkbox loving. So this is working correctly. So what am I wrapped? It should be wrapped in the label element. Label. So label, this is what we did here. See, sometimes you just need to like check what you did in the previous one, and it's the same thing. So let's debug. What is happening? The text loving should no longer be located in the label, okay, this is strange. It should be wrapped in the label. Did I spell label correctly? Label. Label. The text loving should no longer be located directly to the right. Okay, I should set the text loving region only text in the label and place it to the right side of the check-in period. I should shade the text loving. This is a little bit confusing. So if we do this and then I do this, maybe that's what they want. Oh, I like the encouragement here. So input ID label loving label. Wrapped in the label elements. It's wrapped in the label elements. Is this a bug? I'm not sure. So there's another way to associate an input element text with the element itself. You can nest the text within a label element and add the 4 attributes with the same value as the input ID. Okay, so maybe we should do that for loving. That's it. Okay, because I forgot to add this, so I think that was what was happening. Okay, so we say for loving and then it works. So yeah, so we have the label and then we have the label is for this attribute, so which is really good. And then the next thing we need to do, we need to add name to the input. So name is personality for the checkbox. So personality, that's the name. So then we want to add another checkbox. So because we have this checkbox now for loving, so we should have another one for 2 different types of things for lazy. Okay, we have a new one for lazy. So we just do the same thing we did here, repeat it. Sometimes you can just like copy and paste, but for like build your muscle memory, you just like type it up again because it's always good that way. So ID will be lazy, type will be checkbox, yeah, checkbox, and then remember name will be personality because that's what tied them together, personality. And then if we check now, you can see we have this. So we need to now add the label lazy label, yeah, that's right. And then we need to add the ID for the ID lazy. So and then we have this lazy, and then if we click this works fine and cool. And then we have the third one, which is energetic. We just go through the same thing, just for getting better purpose. We type again input ID energetic, and then the type is a checkbox, and then the name should be the same thing because we are still talking about the same group of checkboxes. And then we want to have the label. So label should be what? Energetic, in capital, energetic. So what do we need to do to the label to make it work? For that's a good catch. Okay, so we have for energetic, and then we go there and have our form. Pretty cool, huh? Indoor, outdoor, loving. So we could put radio button is like one of them, one of two. Lazy, we can pick all of them. So we can change these, but we can only pick one of these. But this you can pick multiple version, which is good. And then we submit this, it works fine, and then we keep going. So now the next thing we need to do, just like we did for every other one, is to add a value, and the value should be correspond to the ID of what you're hiding. So and you remember the value is actually what is going to be submitted to the database. So value of this should be loving when selected. Value, oh, this is not the checkbox, this should be the input itself. Value should be lazy, and then for this input, value should be energetic. How cool is that? What did I do wrong? Okay, spell sponsor right. Attribute, okay. So name, personality. So yeah, that I didn't catch. So value, there is no space there because maybe I didn't add a space. And for here, I put the value in the wrong place here. So how cool is this? And that's it. Debugging, running into problems, and fixing it. That's what coding is all about. So now you see, right now all of these informations are like, we can also pick a default. So we can say, for instance, indoor, we want you to be selected. Though the users can change their mind, but then we just want to like make it easier for them. Maybe we just feel like, okay, most cards are indoor people, so indoor cards. And then we want to say that, okay, in the inputs, I'm just trying to figure it out so I'm not putting in the wrong place. Checked. And you can see input is checked. And then for this also, we can add check to loving. Like, we know our cards are loving. Every card is loving. So we want to just like save them the trouble. Like, checked, loving. And then that's work. So like we have main, we can also have footer. So footer is just what it does. Some people add like footer where they can add copyright information, contact, email, or I designed this, some kind of a bragging stuff. So let's add a footer element. You know, even in documents we have footnotes, right? So the name is like semantic naming, which is really cool. Alright, footer. So, and then we want to have a p element here. Yeah. So no copyright, and this is what is cool about it. So we don't have copyright, it's free. Codecamp.org. That's why I love Freecodecamp. It's really amazing, and I think it's really cool. So I hope this walkthrough and code along videos help a lot of people, and then just like give you context into all of these things. And I also learned a lot doing this, which is really, really good, and it's really amazing. Yep. It's been a while I actually write HTML like this, except when I'm doing tutorials. Most of the time I write what we call JSX right now in React. So, which is cool. And it's really amazing. I love building HTML. I think it's really cool. I've done a lot of tutorials on HTML. I think this will be the last of it because this is really, really good. So we can submit this and go to the next challenge. So now we could actually add a link to this, so when someone clicks on the footer, it takes them somewhere. So we could just remember how we do that, and then wrap it in a tag. There is no capital letter in HTML, remember that. So good, and then we want to have our href. Now we know what href does, and then we want to check our code. Is it okay? We should wait. We did something wrong. The links test should be freecodecamporg. You have either omitted the text or have a typo. Okay, make the text freecodecamporg. Okay, sorry guys, this is my error. So now Freecodecamp itself, not everything. So we just get so we want to make freecodecamp.org, yeah, clickable. So not everything. Okay, my bad. So now, you know, we've been doing a lot of these things. We have all of our body section done now. But another important thing you want to know in HTML is that even beyond the body, there is something that comes before that we call head section. So we're going to be adding this head section now, which I think is cool. So let's do that. So in our head section, what we do there is where we have things that show up in the head section of our website. So they don't really show up on your website itself, but they give the browser information, more information about your web page. So something like where we can define the title of our web page, and then we can put the title here, and this title actually show up on our on our browser tab, so which is good, and you know, it's really nice. And then in the add the lang attribute in the HTML. So HTML attribute can take a lang, which is language actually, and then en. If you're using French or any other language, you just put your language there so that the page can know this language is written in English, you know, because computer doesn't know. We need to tell computer it's written in English, and it does it. Okay, so now we need to add something called doc type to tell that our page actually complies with HTML5 codes, and that's what we need to add here. And then we can check our code, and then it works fine. How cool is that? This is not what I want to say. So, but that's the end of our cat app. It doesn't even allow us to enjoy it first. It took me to the CSS. So this is what I'm currently working on. I'm doing a code along for CSS, which is really good. So, but then before we go there, we should actually enjoy what we have built. I will just go back a page. Okay, so after all of our hard work, we've added this, and then we've added let me go back again and add the doc type. So and add the doc type. I think it's exactly about 2 minutes to one. So I want this to just be 1 hour long. So I have 1 minute to go. So right now you can see that we have everything built out in HTML. How cool is that? So register on Freecodecamp, and you can go and practice as much as possible. If you have any question on HTML, just ask away and you'll be good. And when you're done, join my CSS code along, and it's really, really fun. Also, everything on this channel. So share this channel with your friends, your teenagers, your school, but someone that is trying to learn how to code and they don't know where to start, and think this is gonna help them a lot. So which is really good. So if we check our code, everything should work fine. And then if we submit this now, we go to this CSS page. But then you can see everything we have built now is here. So in 1 hour, we've gone through HTML from beginning to the end. Subscribe to this channel and then go to the next video after this. We're going to build all of this in HTML and CSS. Bye bye.